Hey guys. I always have to make sure there's nothing ridiculous in the background because my family doesn't understand that I film and that they can't just put stuff in the background. So, hi guys, welcome to another episode of Morning Tea. My name is Wahima and here's my tea, iced green tea. And you guys remember how excited I was about Starbucks and their new s'more frappuccino? Well, I tried it. I went out and got it yesterday. I filmed it, I talked about it in a film, but I didn't upload it because I felt like it was stupid and trivial compared to what is happening in the world. So I will upload it probably later after I upload this video. First of all, there's a lot happening in the world. Like Nepal had a huge earthquake and they had aftershocks up to 24 hours afterwards. I don't know if they're still having aftershocks now, but last I heard on the radio that there was a death count of 4,600 and a lot more missing and unaccounted for, more injured. So good vibrations go out to the people of Nepal. There are times when it's easier for me to look abroad and be like, oh, they have problems, and then ignore what's happening here in the States. But at this juncture, I'm unable to do that. I haven't given Nepal and what else is happening in the world much of my attention because of what is happening in Baltimore and all over this country. Let me just give you a quick anecdote. One time I was on the Twitter and I was tweeting with Cheska Lee, and she was talking about the representation of Black people in the media and in on television and film. And I made a comment to her where I said, well, you know, the Asian group have it bad as well, or worse, because they're not represented at all, less than Black people. And she responded with to me that she doesn't like to compare who has it worse. She's brilliant, but that just like annoyed me. And it's not because she put down what I was saying, but because I just feel like I was right. That being said, so that kind of rhetoric happens a lot, especially when I talk about what's happening to Black people in this country. There's always somebody who jumps in and says, well, such and such have it worse. And so when that happens, I now can understand where Cheska Lee was coming from, the comparison of who has it worse. I personally can't look and see what other people are having bad right now because what my people are having bad takes precedent. A friend of mine put on Facebook and he's a white male, and a white gay male, and he put on Facebook, all he wants for Christmas is for Black people to be safe in America. So all of his Black friends were like, thanks, you know, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then he had some white people who I don't know how they're related to him or know him come back and go, well, all we want is for everyone to be safe and love their country. And he's like, well, okay, that's true. But for right now, for what I want for Christmas this year is for Black people to have it. I think it's more important right now in the face of what's happening to Black people, for Black people to have it. And his friend was like, yes, no, I'm not saying that what you're talking about is wrong. I'm just also adding in that there are other peoples. And so he says, yes, there are other peoples. I acknowledge that. But right now I'm acknowledging Black people. And then the thread got on because another Black woman jumped in and started talking to that man. They had a very civil conversation about it. And she explained to him that by him doing that, it feels like he's negating. And at this juncture, there is no place for that rhetoric. The same idea, it goes back for me, the same idea when we had Black Lives Matter, and then there was a movement of all lives matter. Yes, all lives do matter. But right now we're talking about Black people. And sometimes I think that I understand where they're coming from, where they want to add that all people have an issue. But right now, we're specifically discussing Black people. And that's not to make you feel bad. It's not to make Sally feel bad. It's not to make Chung Lee feel bad. It's not to make Hiroko feel bad. It's not to make the Armenians, the Mexicans. It's not to make anyone else who's having their own strife in this country. It's not to make them feel bad or negate or downplay what they're going through, but this is what we're going through. And so those of us who feel some sort of kinship to the cause are going to speak about that. I just find it so interesting. Basically, we all know about the riots in Baltimore, right? I don't know if you are from a state or a city or a place where there have been riots, but I was here and alive and cognizant in 1992 when we had the riots, the LA riots. And I know what rioting can do for a city. The LA riots lasted, I believe, 3 days. And it was a very scary time for me. I was very young. I was 10. So it was even more scary for me because I really didn't understand what was going on. As I told you in the last video, I recently watched the Rodney King beating again. Nothing has changed since then. It's just, nothing has changed. You know what I'm saying? It's just now that everything is now getting caught on tape. And I wish that the police would just stop killing. I know that it's hard to stop a machine when it's going and they're used to being able to shoot and kill people, especially Black men, especially when they feel threatened. I just want all police officers to be on alert now that that is happening and that maybe they should think twice before they pull the trigger. Because I really, really want the police to be the good guys in this scenario. But I find myself not feeling that they are. I mean, I've never really think of the police as being the good guys, except for on television. I kind of worry about that, the integrity of the police. Even though I've never had a good experience with the police, it's not like I feel like they're, as a whole, this amazing thing that I really depend on and feel like they're there to protect me. I'm just saying that I'm starting to get anxious for both sides now because I really just want this to stop. What's happening in Baltimore? So there is a lot of criticism that the mayor and the city knew that these children were going to riot, that there had been peaceful protests, which doesn't have as much coverage as the riots, and that the city acknowledges that the peaceful protesters have nothing to do with these quote unquote thugs, right? So the criticism is that the mayor and the city knew that there was going to be riots, that these high school students, these thugs, talked about these riots and they knew it was going to happen after school or what have you, and that the city did nothing about it. And there's been criticism from the New York City police, whatever, somebody from New York City, some officer, police officer in New York City, some high up said, you know, oh, what happened in Baltimore, they could have stopped it, they could have done this, they could have done that. But the mayor, from what I'm reading and believing, the mayor decided that she was going to do something different, that because these rioters, majority of them were going to be children, high school kids, and they didn't want to have what was happening in Ferguson happen in Baltimore with the police and during the people. And since these people, these thugs, these rioters were going to be children, they needed to take care and be very, handle the situation very sensitively. And I agree. And I think it really depends on your philosophy about what it is. Like, you know, there are people who feel like a crime is a crime and it doesn't matter who commits it, it's a crime, and that there's no excuse for rioting. And I really do think I think that rioting is a poor choice, but I understand why it happens. Now, after these kids decided to do this, I'm sure that there were some other grown people, some actual, you know, troublemakers. There is no excuse that's valid, but there is excuses, right? I really do think it depends on your philosophy. I actually agree with the mayor and how she handled it. A few broken windows and some damaged property that is owned by super rich people, like, they can handle it. You know, I feel bad for the mom and pop stores who got busted up. I feel bad for the little people whose property was attacked, absolutely. But I do think that it's part of a people's uprising. It's what happens. And so we can talk about how property damage and these thugs, and I just really hate the use of the word thug. And when I think of thugs, I think of like Italian gangsters who go around breaking legs. Like, that's who I think thugs are. Like, and just to throw this title on these kids and these people as thugs, as though that sums up who they are. That sums them up. That sums up their entire lives. Like, to me, a thug is somebody who literally goes around and bullies people. And I don't know that all of them would be put underneath that umbrella. And I'm kind of disappointed in the president for using that word. I'm disappointed in the mayor of Baltimore for using that word because it's such an easy word to throw out. Well, I know what my opinion of a thug is, but a lot of other people's opinion of thugs are young Black kids. And it's not that's what they call them. So it's not as though, like, the word thug can mean a lot of different things. Thug, he's wearing a do-rag and a wife beater and baggy pants or baggy shorts. Like, it's very specific. And I just think that is an ill use of that word. And so, like I said, I'm not with rioters. I'm not going to riot. That's never going to be my answer to anything when it comes to situations like these. But I understand why people riot. And I do feel that to a certain extent, it's something that does work. Not to work to get anything done, but work to get attention. Work to get the people who are in charge to understand that the people who are not in charge are pretty serious. Yes, protesting does that as well. But something about rioting is a little different. Now, looting, I know they go hand in hand, but to me, looting is ridiculous. But I don't like stealing. So I don't like the idea of taking something that doesn't belong to you, unless you just find it on the ground. Then take it. So let me know what you guys think of this. I like how the mayor handled it. I thought that it was responsible, and I thought that having the police go in and attack children was the wrong move. Now Baltimore has a curfew. They've always had a curfew for children under 14, but now they have a curfew for everyone, 10 p.m. weeknights. I mean, that to me is like, that is the worst thing to come out of it. Like, I can't be out past 10 p.m., bro. No. Tell me what you think. I know a lot of people have conflicting ideas about this, but, you know, let me know how you feel about it. I feel like things are going to get a little bit worse before they get better, and it's going to take years for them to get better. It's going to take generations, actually. So I think this is the beginning. You know, I think the biggest problem that faces the Black community is education. We have way too many people not educated. Way too many people who just aren't as educated as they need to be in order to make it through instances like this, and to rise above and organize and vote and do the things that they need to do to really change the society around them. And it's hard, and it's not as easy as what I'm just saying, but I personally believe that education is the key. When you know that you have options, and when you know that there's other ways for you to live and for you to be, then you make better choices. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you're having a great day. And yeah, that's it. Okay, bye guys.